I died choking on my own blood, the taste of iron and betrayal thick in my throat, as my brother's hands, those same hands that once clapped me on the back like we were equals, pressed the accelerator of that stolen truck straight into the ravine. The last thing I saw was his face in the rearview mirror, twisted not with regret, but with the cold satisfaction of a man who'd finally erased the one loose end standing between him and the family fortune. And then, like a bad cut in a film reel, the world snapped back. I was 25 again, gasping awake in my cramped apartment above the Vineyard's old tasting room, the summer heat of Napa Valley pressing down like a guilty conscience, my heart pounding with the impossible truth. I'd come back to bury them all. The alarm clock on my nightstand blinked 6 a.m., July 15th, the same godforsaken day it had been when everything started unraveling 2 years from now. Or was it 3? Time blurred in the haze of that second death, the one where I'd clawed my way back from the first only to fail spectacularly. I sat up, sheets tangled around my legs like restraints, and stared at my hands. They were smooth, unscarred, the calluses from endless hours pruning vines just beginning to form. No wedding ring from that sham marriage to cover up the family's debts. No faint tremor from the anxiety meds I'd popped like candy after they all turned on me. Dahlia? My mother's voice floated up from the kitchen below, syrupy sweet with that fake concern she reserved for when she needed something. Honey, you up? Breakfast's on. I froze. It was her. Alive. Scheming. The woman who'd cooed over my brother Ethan like he was the second coming while I toiled in the dirt to keep Blackwood Vineyards afloat. In my first life, or death, whatever you call it, I'd believed her tears at my funeral. Believed the eulogy about how I was the heart of the family. Lies. All of it. Ethan had confessed it all in a drunken ramble to the cops after the crash. Mom and Dad had known about the embezzlement, the fake invoices, the loans he'd taken out in my name. They'd let him run the place into the ground because he was their golden boy, and when the bank came calling, they'd pinned it on me. Save it with $100,000, Dahlia, Dad had said, his voice cracking like he actually cared. You're the smart one. Yeah, right. That $100,000 was my life savings, scraped together from night shifts at the co-op and selling my grandma's heirloom jewelry. And when I couldn't magic up a miracle, they let Ethan handle it. Handle me. I swung my legs over the bed, bare feet hitting the cool hardwood floor that still smelled of aged oak and faint mildew. The apartment was a shoebox, tiny kitchenette, a sagging futon, and a window overlooking the vineyard that stretched like a green ocean under the morning fog. Blackwood Vineyards, 200 acres of Cabernet Sauvignon and Chardonnay that Dad had inherited from his bootlegger great-grandpa back in Prohibition days. It was supposed to be our legacy. Instead, it became our curse. Downstairs, the kitchen was a whirlwind of clattering pans and the sizzle of bacon, Mom's go-to for buttering up the troops. She was at the stove, her peroxide blonde hair tied back in a scarf, humming some old Patsy Cline tune. Dad sat at the scarred oak table, nursing his black coffee, his face a roadmap of sun-leathered lines from years chasing the perfect vintage. And there, lounging like he owned the place, which, in their eyes, he did, was Ethan. 28, with that trust fund slouch and a grin that could charm vipers. He was scrolling his phone, probably liking pics of the latest Silicon Valley bimbos, oblivious to the storm I'd brought back with me. "Morning, sis," he said without looking up. "You look like hell. Rough night." I forced a smile, the kind I'd perfected over years of biting my tongue. "Just the usual. Dreams about you finally pulling your weight." He laughed, that easy, infuriating bark. Mom shot me a look, half warning, half plea, and slid a plate in front of me. Eggs over easy, bacon crisp, toast with her homemade jam from last year's berries. It was all so normal, so achingly fake. In my head, I replayed the board meeting 3 years from now, the one where Ethan presented his turnaround plan, siphoning off $200,000 for a marketing consultant who was really his coke dealer in San Francisco. The debts piled up like storm clouds, supplier invoices unpaid, loans defaulting, the bank seizing equipment. Dad had called me in from my job at the university extension program, where I was studying enology, to fix it. Mom had cried, clutching my hands. You're our only hope, Dahlia. Ethan's. He's got so much potential, but he's young. Reckless. You understand business. Understand? I'd understood enough to remortgage my future, to beg friends for loans, to work double shifts until my hands blistered and my eyes burned. And when it wasn't enough, Ethan had lured me out to the old access road that night, promising one last pitch to an investor buddy. The truck. The ravine. The end. But not this time. I picked at my eggs, the fork steady in my hand. No tremor yet. So, what's the agenda today? Harvest prep. Dad grunted, folding his Napa Valley register. Ethan's got some ideas for the label redesign. Big push into direct-to-consumer sales. Could be a game changer. Ethan leaned back, all swagger. Yeah, imagine it. Our cab in every tech bro's fridge from here to the valley. I've got this graphic guy in Oakland who's killer.
Inedit, svalaving bile.
In my memory, that graphic guy was code for the first skim. $50,000 vanished into design fees that never materialized. Sounds ambitious. You run the numbers yet? He waved it off. Details, sis. That's your wheelhouse. I'm the visionary. Mom beamed at him, then at me with that expectant tilt. Isn't it exciting? We could finally expand the tasting room, maybe add a B&B like those places up in Sonoma. Exciting.
Right.
I pushed my plate away, the food turning to ash in my mouth.
Sure.
But let's talk brass tacks. What's the budget for this push? The table went quiet. Dad cleared his throat.
Well,
we're a little tight after the drought last year. Equipment upgrades ate into reserves. Ethan shot me a glare, the first crack in his facade. Come on, Dahlia. Don't rain on the parade. I met his eyes, and for a split second, I let him see it. The ghost of the woman he'd killed. His grin faltered, just a hair.
Good.
Let him feel the chill. Parades cost money, Ethan. And we're not exactly swimming in it. I stood, grabbing my keys from the hook by the door. I'll check the vines. Make sure the irrigation's holding. As I stepped out into the crisp morning air, the fog rolling off the hills like smoke from a fresh grave, I felt it settle in my bones. This was my vineyard now. Not theirs. I'd play their game, but on my terms. Step 1. Document everything. Every invoice, every email, every whisper of Ethan's vision. In my first go-round, I'd trusted them. This time, I'd build the noose myself. The vineyard was alive with the low buzz of bees and the distant rumble of tractors prepping for the crush. Rows upon rows of vines stretched toward the Mayacamas Mountains, their leaves a vibrant green under the lifting mist. I walked the paths I'd known since I was a kid, trailing my fingers over the cordons, feeling the pulse of the place. Blackwood had been my sanctuary, the one spot where Dad's gruff nods meant approval, where Mom's rare hugs smelled of soil and sunblock. But even here, favoritism festered like root rot. Ethan was the prodigal son, born with a silver cork in his mouth. 3 years older, he got the truck at 16 while I biked to school. College fund? His. Full ride to UC Davis for AG business, though he spent more time partying than studying.
Me?
Community college at Napa Valley, working weekends to pay tuition, majoring in the dirt because that's where the real work was. Dahlia's the backbone, Dad would say, but it was always laced with that pitying undertone, like I was the spare tire they kept in the trunk. By 23, I'd taken over operations, inventory, yields, compliance, while Ethan consulted from his apartment in the city. That's when the cracks showed. Barrels lost in transit, suppliers stiffed, cash flow mysteriously evaporating. I'd confronted him once, early on, after finding a forged check in his desk. Family sticks together, D. He'd said, clapping my shoulder. Trust me.
Trust.
The word burned now as I pulled out my phone and snapped photos of the ledger in the shed, outdated entries, gaps where expenses should be. I'd need more than memories. I'd need proof. Back in the apartment, I fired up my laptop, a beat-up Dell that hummed like an old harvester, and started a new folder. Insurance. Not the kind for vines. The kind for when the wolves turn on you. That afternoon, the first test came. Dad called me into the office, a converted barn with walls lined in oak casks and faded photos of the family at long-ago crushes. He was behind the desk, rubbing his temples, a stack of bills fanned out like a bad poker hand. Dale, sit. His voice was gravel, the kind that commanded without raising. We need to talk about the future. Ethan slouched in the corner, arms crossed, that smirk playing at his lips. Mom hovered by the door, twisting her apron like it was a lifeline. I sat, spine straight. Shoot. Dad sighed, heavy as a fallen branch. The bank's breathing down our necks. Interest on that equipment loan, it's killing us. Ethan here has a plan, but
We need seed money.
$100,000 to bridge the gap. There it was. The hook. In my past life, I'd gasped, stammered promises, sold my soul to cover it. This time, I let the silence stretch, watching their faces cycle through hope, impatience, dread. $100,000, I echoed, voice flat. Where do you expect that to come from? The money tree out back. Ethan snorted. Don't be dramatic. You've got savings, right? And that side gig at the co-op. Lend it to the family, D. We'll pay you back double once the new labels hit. Mom stepped forward, eyes glistening. Please, honey. This is our legacy. Your legacy. Legacy. The word twisted like a knife. Our legacy was them propping up Ethan's failures on my back until it snapped. I thought of the ravine, the truck's headlights cutting through the dark, Ethan's whisper as he shoved me toward the edge. Sorry, sis. Business. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees, and met Dad's gaze.
No.
The room iced over. Mom's hand flew to her mouth. Ethan straightened, eyes narrowing. What? No. I repeated, slower, savoring it. I'm not bailing you out. Not this time. Dad's face reddened. Dahlia Marie Blackwood, this isn't a negotiation. We're family. Family? I laughed, sharp and brittle. Family lets the golden child gamble away the farm, then guilts the workhorse into fixing it? Newsflash, Dad. I'm done carrying dead weight. Ethan surged forward, fists clenched. You ungrateful bitch. After everything you've taken. I cut in, standing to match him. We were inches apart, his cologne, cheap and overpowering, mixing with the musty scent of the office. The lost shipments to your buddies in Frisco? The consulting fees that bought you that Porsche you crashed last winter?
I know, Ethan.
All of it. His eyes widened, a flicker of fear.
Good.
Let it sink in. Mom whimpered. Dahlia, that's not. Save it. I turned to the door, pausing for the kill shot. Audit the books. Or watch it all burn. I left them there, the silence shattering behind me like dropped glass. Outside, the sun dipped low, painting the vines in blood-red hues. My hands shook, not from fear but adrenaline. This was just the opening salvo. Revenge wasn't a sprint. It was a vintage. Slow fermenting, full-bodied, leaving a bitter aftertaste. That night, sleep evaded me, the apartment's thin walls echoing with the murmur of voices from the main house, arguments, I hoped, laced with doubt. I paced the kitchenette, brewing chamomile that tasted like regret, and pulled up old emails on my phone. In my first timeline, I deleted them all, too ashamed to keep the evidence of my gullibility.
Now?
They were gold. There, Ethan's pitch from 2 years ago, promising explosive growth with attachments that were just smoke. And buried deeper, a thread from Mom to her sister in Sacramento. Ethan's struggling, but Dahlia will sort it. She's always been the strong one. Strong enough to die for, apparently. By dawn, I'd drafted a plan. Step 2. Allies. In Napa, wine was blood, thicker than family, and twice as intoxicating. There was Carla Ruiz, the no-nonsense banker at Wells Fargo, who'd tipped me off about the loans in my past life, only for me to ignore her. And Javier, the foreman who'd watched me bleed for this place, his loyalty bought with respect, not cash. I started with Javier. He was in the fields at first light, checking trellises with that quiet efficiency I'd always admired. Stocky, with salt and pepper hair and hands like leather, he'd been with Blackwood since before I was born. "Boss lady," he greeted, wiping sweat from his brow. "Early riser today." "Always." I fell into step beside him, the dirt crunching under our boots. "Javi, I need a favor." "Off the books." He glanced sideways, wary but intrigued. "What kind?" "Keep an eye on the shipments. Log everything, times, drivers, manifests. And if Ethan starts redirecting again, tell me first." "A beat." "You think the boy's skimming?" I stopped, plucking a leaf from a vine, crushing it between my fingers. The scent released, sharp and green. "I know he is. And if we don't stop it, we're all done." He nodded, slow, like he'd been waiting for this. "For you, Dahlia? Anything. Your abuelo would be proud." My throat tightened. Grandpa Ruiz, no, Blackwood, had taught me the vines, not the politics. He died when I was 12, leaving me his old journal of soil notes and weather logs. "Family first," he'd scrawled on the last page. Irony at its finest. Back at the house, the tension was a live wire. Mom avoided my eyes at breakfast, serving silently. Dad was buried in paperwork, grumbling about tight margins. Ethan? He was gone, off to meet investors, his truck kicking up gravel as he peeled out. Perfect. Let him dig his hole deeper. I commandeered the office, spreading ledgers across the desk like a war map. The numbers screamed red flags, discrepancies in fuel logs, inflated vendor costs, a $20,000 miscellaneous line item dated to Ethan's last business trip. I cross-referenced with bank statements, pulled from the safe with Dad's begrudging nod, and bingo. Transfers to an account in Ethan's name, masked as loans. By noon, Carla was on the line. "Dahlia Blackwood? Been a minute. How's the crush looking?" "Stormy." I leaned back in the creaky chair, the phone wedged between ear and shoulder. "Listen, Carla, I need discretion. Can you run a quiet check on our line of credit? See if there's any irregularities." Her pause was telling, professional caution laced with curiosity. Irregularities like what? Like someone using my name for personal draws. Another beat. "That's fraud, Dahlia. You sure you want to go there?" More sure than I've ever been. I hesitated, then added the hook. "There's a bonus in it if you flag anything before it hits the fan. Wine cellar stock, your pick." She chuckled, warm and conspiratorial. "You drive a hard bargain. Give me 24 hours. It was done. The gears turning. But revenge, I'd learned, had teeth. That afternoon, as I hiked the upper terraces, steep slopes where the best grapes clung like defiant secrets, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Dahlia? It's Marcus Hale. Ethan's friend from the city." Marcus, the investor from my death night. Smooth-talking venture capitalist with a weakness for young wives and older scotch. In my past, he'd been the one Ethan pitched me to as the savior, until he ghosted when the debt surfaced. "What can I do for you, Marcus?" A laugh, polished as Cabernet. Straight to it. "I like that. Ethan mentioned you're handling ops now. Said you might be open to private funding."
Private.
Code for off-books, no questions asked cash. My pulse quickened, not fear, but thrill. "Depends. What's the angle?" "Dinner. Tonight. The French Laundry." We talked terms. I glanced down the hill, the main house a toy model in the valley. Mom on the porch, waving a dish towel like a white flag. Dad in the distance, inspecting barrels. Ethan, oblivious, speeding toward his web. "Tell Ethan I'm busy," I said. "But you? 8 sharp. And Marcus? Bring your checkbook."
Click.
The line went dead, and I smiled into the wind. Step 3. Turn the predator into prey. Dinner at the French Laundry was a gamble wrapped in opulence. White tablecloths crisp as fresh snow, chandeliers dripping light like honeyed wine. I'd borrowed one of Mom's dresses, a simple black sheath that hugged without screaming, and twisted my dark hair into a knot that said professional, not desperate. Marcus was already there, At a corner table overlooking the gardens, his suit tailored to perfection, salt-flecked hair gleaming under the glow. "Dahlia Blackwood," he said, rising with that shark's grin, kissing my knuckles like we were in some Gatsby fever dream. "The brains behind the operation, I hear." "Flattery and foie gras? You're spoiling me." I slid into the seat, scanning the menu without really seeing it. Oysters and caviar, sure, but my mind was on the exit strategies. We ordered the tasting menu with pairings. Mine, something light to keep my wits sharp. Conversation flowed easy at first. Napa gossip, vintages we'd crushed, the drought's toll on yields. He was good, probing without pushing, dropping names like grenades, tech moguls, Hollywood sommeliers. Then the pivot. Over the duck confit, he leaned in. "Ethan's passionate but unfocused. You, though, you're the steady hand. What would it take to get you on board? Say, $150,000 infusion. No strings, just equity."
Equity.
In my past life, that word had blinded me. I'd signed over 20% of the Vineyard for half that, thinking it salvation. Ended up with nothing but liens. "Generous," I said, sipping the Pinot Noir, silky, deceptive. "But why me? Ethan's your guy." He shrugged, eyes gleaming. "Call it intuition. Plus," he mentioned, "family tensions. Said you're resistant to his vision." Resistant. Understatement of the century. Family's complicated. But let's talk real. What's your play here? Flip the Vineyard for a quick buck once it's trendy. A chuckle, low and appreciative. Perceptive. But no long game. Boutique label, direct sales to high-end spots. Napa's booming. Blackwood could be the next cult classic.
Cult. Fitting.
I set my glass down, the stem cool against my palm. "Show me the terms." "On paper." He slid a folder across the table, leather-bound, crisp documents outlining the deal. $150,000 for 15% stake, with clauses for expansion rights. It looked legit, but I knew the fine print. Acceleration on repayment if key personnel left.
Key personnel being me.
"I need to think," I said, tucking it into my purse. "But Marcus? One thing. Ethan's not just unfocused. He's reckless. Check his references." His brow arched, intrigued. "Dare I ask why?" "Because if you're investing in Blackwood, you're investing in truth." I stood, signaling the end. "Dessert's on you. I'll call tomorrow." Outside, the night air was velvet, stars pricking the sky like distant judgments. My cab waited, headlights cutting the dark. As we pulled away, my phone lit up. "Ethan. Where the hell are you?" "Dad's pissed. We need to talk about the money." I typed back, fingers flying. "Out. Handling business. Your move." Let him stew. Back home, the apartment was a tomb. Quiet, save for the hum of the fridge. I spread the folder on the futon, highlighter in hand, marking the traps. It was solid, better than Ethan's pipe dreams. But taking it meant war, exposing the rot to save the vine. Sleep came fitful, dreams splintered with ravine echoes and Ethan's laugh. Morning brought Carla's call. "Dahlia, you were right. 3 draws last month, $40,000 total, signed with your e-signature. IP traces to the house network." My blood sang. "Document it. And freeze the account." "Already done. What's next?" "Send copies to me. Encrypted." Hanging up, I felt the shift, the power tilting. But power draws fire. By lunch, Dad cornered me in the barrel room, the air thick with fermenting fruit. "What the hell's going on?" he barked, face thunderous. "Bank's calling," saying the lines frozen. "Ethan says you went behind our backs." I didn't flinch, stacking crates with deliberate calm. "Behind? Or ahead?"
Check the logs, Dad.
"Your son's been playing roulette with our future." He deflated, rubbing his neck.
He's learning.
"Mistakes happen." "Mistakes?" I whirled, crates forgotten. "Like forging my name? Like bleeding us dry for his visions?" "This isn't a classroom, Dad. It's our life." His eyes, faded blue like overripe grapes, searched mine. For a moment, regret flickered. Dahlia, Save it. I brushed past, the door slamming like a cork popping free. The confrontation hung heavy as I drove into town, the folder burning a hole in my passenger seat. Marcus's offer was temptation incarnate, clean money, no family strings. But accepting meant admitting Blackwood was broken, that I'd let it die once.
No.
I'd fix it my way. At the co-op, Javier met me in the loading bay, a USB drive in his calloused palm. Shipments. 3 rerouted last week. To a warehouse in Oakland. Ethan's truck. Oakland. His playground. Good work. Keep watching. He gripped my arm, gentle but firm. Be careful, Mija. Blood's thick, but it spills easy. I nodded, throat tight. I know. Evening fell with a storm, thunder rumbling over the hills, rain sheeting the vines like tears long overdue. I was in the office, compiling the evidence into a dossier, screenshots, logs, bank pulls, when Ethan burst in, soaked and wild-eyed. You bitch, he snarled, slamming the door. Water pooled at his feet, mixing with the dust. What did you tell the bank? Marcus called, said something's off with the books. I didn't look up, typing steadily. Truth hurts, doesn't it? He lunged across the desk, knocking papers flying, grabbing my collar. You think you can take this from me? From us? I built this. You destroyed it. I met his gaze, inches away, seeing the boy who'd once shared secrets under the stars, now warped into this. And you'll pay for it. He released me, laughing, manic, unhinged. Pay? With what? Your little savings? Dad's already cutting you out. Mom's on my side. Always has been. The words landed like punches, but I was armored now. Is that why you killed me? For a Vineyard drowning in your shit. His face blanked, confusion flickering. Killed you? What the fuck are you? Lightning cracked outside, illuminating the horror in his eyes. He backed away, stumbling over a chair. You're crazy. Stress or something. I didn't. Save the act. I stood, dossier in hand. I know everything. The truck, the ravine. Your confession to the cops after they pulled your prints off the wheel. It was an accident, you sobbed. But it wasn't. Silence, broken only by rain. Then whisper. How? Doesn't matter. I thrust the papers at him. Sign over your share, or this goes to the DA. Fraud, embezzlement, attempted murder. He snatched them, scanning, face paling. This is bullshit. Family doesn't. Family? I laughed cold. You lost that privilege when you chose the gas pedal over blood. He crumpled, sliding down the wall, defeated. Dahlia, please. I was scared. The debts. They were coming for me. Pity stirred, faint as a bad vintage. But I crushed it. Scared? Try dying. As he sobbed, the door creaked. Mom. Drenched, eyes wide. Ethan? Dahlia, what's? Too late, I said, stepping over him. Audit starts tomorrow. Clean or we're done. She reached for me, but I was gone. Into the storm, lightning forking the sky like judgment. The Vineyard wept with me, washing away the old sins. But twists I'd learned came in barrels. The rain pounded like fists on the tasting room roof as I huddled in my apartment, the dossier copied to a thumb drive hidden under a loose floorboard, the same spot Grandpa used for his prohibition stash. Ethan's breakdown replayed in my head, his denial cracking under the weight of truths he couldn't explain away. How? He'd gasped it like a prayer, but answers were my weapon, not his. Let him stew in the impossible. It was the first fracture in his armor. Morning broke gray and sodden, the Vineyard a mud-slicked labyrinth. I sloshed through the rows, boots sucking at the earth, checking for washout. The vines held, stubborn as me, but the air hummed with unease, workers whispering, Javier shooting me loaded glances. Words spread fast in Napa. By 10, Dad was waiting on the porch, shotgun propped casual against the rail like it was for rabbits, not resolve. We need to talk, he said, voice low thunder. No gruff affection today, just the patriarch, cornered. I wiped mud from my hands on my jeans, meeting his stare. About everything. He jerked his head toward the house. Inside.
Now.
The kitchen smelled of stale coffee and Mom's untouched toast. She sat at the table, eyes puffy, twisting that damn apron again. Ethan was nowhere, probably nursing a hangover in town, plotting his next lie. Dad poured me a mug, black as his mood. Ethan told us.
What you said.
About the accident. I sipped, scalding. Not an accident. Murder. Mom whimpered, but Dad held up a hand. He's lying.
Panicking.
Whatever you're holding over him. Evidence. I set the mug down, hard enough to slosh. Logs, transfers, signatures. And witnesses. Carla's got the bank records. Javier's got the shipments. It's over, Dad. His jaw worked, Adam's apple bobbing. This is family, Dahlia. We fix our own messes. Feeks. I barked a laugh. You let him make them. Propped him up while I broke my back. And when the bill came. Save it with $100,000, Dahlia. Like I was the ATM, not your daughter. Mom's voice cracked. We love you both. Ethan. He's always been fragile. After the divorce. Fragile. The word ignited me. Fragile gets therapy, not a free pass to ruin us. You knew, didn't you? About the schemes. The forgeries. Silence.
Damning.
Dad looked away, out the window at the dripping eaves. Mom's tears spilled. Silent accusations. Finally, he sighed. It was bad judgment. We thought. You could handle it. Keep the peace.
Peace.
The lie that killed me. Handle the fallout from your golden boy's sins? No more. I stood, but Dad's hand shot out, gripping my wrist firm, not cruel.
Wait.
What do you want? Control. The word hung, bold and final. I run ops. Full authority. Ethan steps back, therapy or jail. And you? You back me.
Publicly.
His grip tightened, then released. And if we don't, the dossier goes to the sheriff. IRS. Everyone. Mom gasped. You destroy us? I'd save what's left. I met her eyes, seeing the woman who'd sung me lullabies now reduced to this. Complicit, crumbling. Pity flickered, but I stamped it. Sign the papers by noon. Or watch it burn. I left them there, the door clicking shut like a vault. Outside, the sun pierced the clouds, steam rising from the soil like ghosts fleeing the light. Javier was at the tractor shed, tinkering with the engine. I tossed him the keys to the old Ford. Take the afternoon. Family's handling itself. He eyed me, wise. You sure, boss? Boss. The title warmed, unfamiliar.
Yeah.
I am. By noon, the papers came. Ethan's proxy, scrawled and shaky, emailed from a bar IP. Dad's addendum, operational sign-off, dated and notarized. Mom's note, handwritten. Forgive us.
Please.
I burned it in the sink, watching the flames curl her pleas to ash. Power tasted like victory, tart, with an undercurrent of ash. I dove in, calling suppliers, renegotiating terms with steel in my spine. Carla greenlit a bridge loan, $50K, my name only, at prime -1. Marcus? I countered his offer. $120,000 for 10%, with clawbacks if fraud surfaced. He bit, emailing revisions by dusk. But Ethan didn't sling quiet. That night, as thunder rumbled anew, my phone shattered the peace. Voicemails, 5, his voice slurring from some dive in Yountville. You think you're smart, D? Digging up dirt? I got dirt on you too. Remember that summer in Tahoe? The pills? Dad covered it, your little secret.
Tahoe.
19, wild with grief after Grandpa's funeral. I'd pop Xanax like candy, washed down with stolen Zinfandel, ending in a blackout crash that totaled Dad's truck. No cops. Family strings pulled. Ethan knew.
Of course he did.
The message ended with a laugh. Vicious. Call off the dogs, or everyone knows the Blackwood princess is a junkie. My hands trembled, the old shame rising like bile. In my first life, that secret had chained me, guilt the perfect leverage. They dangled it when I pushed back on his schemes. Don't rock the boat, Dahlia. We all have skeletons. But skeletons could be exhumed. I dialed Javier. Need a favor. Track Ethan's phone. Done. A pause.
Trouble.
The worst kind. Sleep was a joke. Dawn found me at the co-op, haggling with distributors over futures contracts, locking in prices before the market spiked. It felt good, this rhythm, numbers aligning, vines thriving under my eye. By 10, Javier texted, Ethan at the Grapevine Lounge. Alone. Row 3, table 2. The Grapevine was a dive, sticky floors, neon signs buzzing like angry hornets, the kind of place Napa's old guard drowned regrets. I slipped in, hood up against the drizzle, spotting him at a corner booth, slumped, nursing a whiskey neat, eyes red-rimmed. I slid in opposite, uninvited. Rough night. He jerked, spilling amber. You stalking me now?
Christ de.
Family perk. I signaled the bartender, soda water, lime. Clean head for dirty work. Tahoe. Cute play. But threats? Amateur. His lip curled. Truth hurts more than lies. Dad buried it for you. DUI, possession. One word from me, and your control crumbles. I leaned in, voice silk over steel. One word from me, and yours ends in orange. Murder trumps misdemeanor, Ethan. He paled, glancing around like shadows had ears. I didn't mean it was the debt, okay? Marcus pulling out, the bank. You were gonna expose me. I panicked. Panicked. I echoed, flat. Like when you forged the checks. Or rerouted the cab to your dealer. His fists clenched, knuckles white. You don't get it. Mom and Dad, they always chose you. The smart one, the reliable. I had to fight for scraps.
Chose me?
The delusion burned. Scraps? You got the truck, the fund, the blind eye. I got the blame. A beat, his eyes glassy. Maybe. But we're blood. Let it go.
No.
I slid a napkin across, prenup-style waiver, prepped by Carla's paralegal friend. Sign. Walk away clean. Or I walk you to the station. He stared, then snatched a pen from the bar, scrawling fury across the page. You're dead to me, Dahlia. Already was. I pocketed it, standing. Get help. Or don't. Your call. Outside, rain slicked the streets, headlights blurring like memories. Victory, but hollow. Ethan's pain mirrored mine, twisted reflections. Was this revenge, or just trading scars? Back home, the main house glowed warm, a lie of hearth and home. Mom waylaid me on the porch, shawl clutched tight. He called, crying. What did you do? Told the truth. I brushed past, but she grabbed my arm, desperate, unmom-like.
Stop this. Please.
He's your brother. Was. The word escaped, raw. Until he wasn't. Inside, Dad waited in the living room, fire crackling low. Papers on the coffee table, his will, revisions in red ink. It's yours, he said, voice wrecked. The Vineyard. Majority stake. I sank onto the sofa, winded. Why now? Because you're right. He rubbed his face, lines deepening. I failed you both.
Ethan. He's not mine.
The room tilted. What? Your mom. Affair. College buddy. I knew. Raised him anyway. Thought love fixed it. A bitter laugh. Fool's vintage.
Twist.
The secret I died for. Buried deeper than debts. Ethan, the golden child, not blood. It explained the favoritism, the blind grace, a father's desperate fiction. Why tell me? I whispered. To end the cycle. He pushed the papers forward.
Take it.
Make it right. I signed. Numb, the pen heavy as fate. Mom hovered in the doorway, silent witness. Forgiveness? Maybe later. For now, survival. That week blurred. Contracts locked. Marcus's wire hitting the account. Clean, audited. I hired a PI for Ethan's therapy, court-mandated if needed. Workers rallied, Javier at my side, the vineyard humming under new rhythm. Yields projected up 15%. A sommelier from Rouse bit on our Merlot. But peace was illusion. Friday night, as harvest moon rose fat and orange, my phone rang unknown. Dahlia Blackwood? Voice smooth, unfamiliar. We need to talk. About your brother. Who is this? Friend of a friend. Say, the one who drove the truck that night. A pause, loaded. He didn't work alone. Ice in my veins.
Click.
The line died, but the threat lived. Revenge, it seemed, had accomplices. The voice haunted me through the weekend, a ghost in the machine, faceless, taunting. He didn't work alone. It gnawed like blight on the roots, turning every shadow suspect. Who? Marcus. With his polished deals? A jilted supplier? Or deeper, someone in the family web, spinning from the grave of my first death? Harvest kicked off Monday, a frenzy of shears and bins, the air thick with crushed berry perfume and diesel exhaust. I threw myself in, gloves sticky with juice, directing crews like a general on the line. Javier handled the crush pad, his steady hands feeding grapes to the destemmer with machine precision. Focus on the fruit, he advised when I snapped at a lagging picker. The rest rots itself.
Weissmann.
But rot spread. By Wednesday, the PI texted, Ethan checked into rehab, Sonoma Hills.
Voluntary.
But visitor logs odd. Marcus Hale, twice last week. Marcus. The investor with the shark grin. I'd wired his funds Friday, clean and clear, or so I'd thought. I pulled the dossier, cross-checking. No direct ties to Ethan beyond consulting emails. But dinners, calls, that Tahoe whisper. Coincidence curdled to conspiracy. I drove to the French Laundry unannounced, the valley unfolding in golden autumn blaze, vines stripped to skeletons, leaves carpeting the roads like confetti from a funeral. The hostess recognized me, ushering to a patio table with Napa's elite vibe, linen, crystal, whispers of deals in the vines. Marcus arrived fashionably late, tie loose, smile dialed to charm. Dahlia. To what do I owe? Cut the shit. I slid a photo across PI's snap of him entering the clinic. What's with the brotherly love? His grin faltered, then recovered. Business. Ethan had insights on the expansion. Insights from a thief. I leaned in, voice low venom. Or cover for the crash. The one where he tried to kill me. Eyes widened, genuine shock. Kill you? Dahlia, that's insane. I met Ethan posture. Whatever family drama. He pitched hard, but I vetted. Clean. Vetted. Sarcasm dripped. Like the $30,000 he funneled your way last year. Silent partner fees? He stiffened, signaling for wine. A bold burgundy, blood dark. Allegations. Prove it. I did. Printouts from the PI, tracing wires through shell accounts. His face strained, glass pausing mid-sip. This is leverage? After I saved your ass. Saved? I scoffed. You bought in cheap, betting on collapse. And when I didn't fold, Plan B, whisper to Ethan, push him over the edge. Silence, broken by the sommelier's pour. Marcus swirled, contemplative. Hypothetical.
Say I knew about the debts.
Ethan's panic. The road. I advised.
Caution.
Not murder. Caution. The word twisted. You handed him the keys. A sigh, heavy. He was desperate. Said you'd ruin him, expose the forgeries, tank the deal. I told him to talk sense into you.
Not.
That. Lies layered like oak. But his eyes, flicker of guilt, real as rain. Why cover now? Visits to rehab. Ethan called. Owed me details on yields.
And.
Amends. He set the glass down, decisive. Pull my stake.
No clawbacks.
Consider it hush. Hush. The offer tempted, easy out, no DA drama. But easy bred betrayal.
No. You testify. To the cops.
About the advice. Or this. I tap the printouts. Goes public. Forbes loves a wine scam. He laughed, bitter. Blackmail suits you, Dahlia.
Fine.
But one condition, dinner. Real one. No business. I arched a brow.
Why?
Because life's too short for vendettas. A pause, loaded. And you're more than the Vineyard. Flirtation? Or ploy? I stood, leaving the wine untouched. Testify first. Then maybe. Driving back, the sun dipped, shadows lengthening like accusations. Marcus, ally or viper? The call nod. Accomplice or red herring? Home brought storm clouds, literal and lit. Dad on the porch, pipe smoldering, face etched deeper. Sheriff stopped by. Questions about Ethan. Hit and run cold case. My blood iced. The ravine ruled accident, no prints but Ethan's, body too mangled for foul play. But I'd remembered details, tire tracks from a second vehicle, faint, overlooked. Who tipped? I asked, sinking beside him. He puffed, smoke curling.
Said a witness.
You know anything? Everything. The confession spilled. Death. Rebirth. The impossible loop. He listened, pipe forgotten, eyes widening not in doubt, but grief. God, kid. If I'd known. Voice broke.
Ethan.
After you died, he unraveled. Confessed in bits, the push, the panic. But the other car?
He swore it was a ghost.
Drifter, maybe. Drifter. Or driver. The call's voice echoed. Didn't work alone. Thursday blurred. Crush in full roar. Grapes fermenting in open-top bins. Yeast blooming wild. I worked till dusk, hands prune-skinned, mind racing. Javier cornered me at the pump house, worry lines deep. Cops asking workers. About that night. Your wreck. My wreck. The euphemism stung. What did they say? Nothing. But Ethan's name dropped. Folks talking. Damage control. I called the PI, upping the ante, traced that anonymous tip. By night, results. Burner phone. Pinged near St. Helena. And a name. Victoria Lang.
Vicky.
Mom's old college friend. The one with the affair history. She'd visited last summer. Gushy lunches. Wine-soaked afternoons. In my first life, she'd been at the funeral, consoling Mom with whispers I couldn't hear. I confronted Mom in the kitchen, post-dinner, her alone, scrubbing pots like penance.
Vicky Lang.
She know about Ethan? Scrub paused.
What?
The crash. The call to the sheriff. Her. Eyes darted.
She's concerned.
Heard rumors. Rumors from where? Your pillow talk. Mom whirled. Sponge flying. How dare? Truth, Mom.
Now.
I blocked the door. Voice steel. Ethan's not Dad's. Vicky's the father. Silence shattering. She crumpled against the sink, sobs racking.
Yes.
Mistake. Young, stupid. Your dad. Forgave. Raised him. But Vicky. She hovered. Jealous. Wanted more.
More.
Control? The Vineyard, through blood. She pushed Ethan? To the edge. A nod. Wretched. After your death, our death, he called her. Ranting. She panicked, tipped the cops anonymously. To protect him. Us. Protect. The word mocked. By burying it?
No.
Call her. Get her here. Tonight. She did, trembling. Vicky arrived at 10, sleek Mercedes crunching gravel, her in pearls and pantsuit, Botox smooth but eyes feral. Dahlia. Hug attempt, rebuffed. Your mother's distraught. This hysteria.
Sit.
I pointed to the table. Dossier, thumped down. You knew. The affair. The push. And you covered. Bluster deflated. I advised. Ethan was breaking. Said you threatened exposure. I told him to scare you. Drive close, force a pullover.
Not.
The ravine. Scare. Rage boiled. You gave him the burner. The plan. For the family's sake. Tears, crocodile. Blackwood's mind too, through him. Twist upon twist. Not just golden child, puppet. Sign it over. Your claims, silent. Or jail for conspiracy. She signed, hands shaking, fleeing into the night. Mom watched hollow.
I'm sorry.
Words, empty. But closure edged in. Friday. Testimony time. Marcus met the sheriff at the station. Clean confession. No charges for him. Immunity traded. Ethan, pulled from rehab, faced the music. Fraud plea, community service, disinheritance sealed. The Vineyard breathed freer. Bins bubbling. First pressings gold as dawn. I walked the rows alone, moon high, feeling the earth's pulse. Revenge? Sated, scarred, but alive. Yet the call's shadow lingered. One more thread. Saturday dawned crisp, the first chill of fall nipping at the harvest's heels. The crush was in overdrive, tractors rumbling, pumps humming, the air a symphony of slosh and shout. I oversaw it from the catwalk, clipboard in hand, but my mind was on ghosts. Vicky's flight, Marcus's mea culpa, Ethan's cuffed exit to processing. The sheriff had been kind, small-town mercy for Napa's old guard, but justice felt thin, a watered vintage. Javier climbed up, wiping hands on his overalls. Press runs clean. Yields looking strong. Up 18% on the cab blocks. I nodded, forcing smile. Good. Double-check the ferments. I want no off notes this year. He lingered, eyes sharp. And you? Hearings done?
Done.
Ethan's plea. 2 years probation, restitution. $150K, funneled back via Marcus's forfeit. No trial, no spectacle. But the raven-haired specter didn't work alone. Vicky claimed solo panic. Marcus, peripheral nudge. Who then? Dad found me at dusk, the sun bleeding orange over the hills. He carried 2 glasses, our reserve 18, decanted just so. Walk with me. We strolled the East Terrace, the slope where Chardonnay thrived in misty grace.
Glas klingt, tentative toast.
To second chances, he murmured. I sipped, the wine buttery, layered, oak and apple, with a mineral bite. Seconds. Yeah. He stopped at the overlook, valley sprawling below like a rumpled quilt. About Ethan.
Vicky.
I buried it deep. Thought's silence healed. Healed you. I corrected, gentle but firm. Not us. A nod. Weary. You're right. And you coming back? It's a miracle. Or curse. Choice. I swirled the glass, legs of wine clinging like regrets. I chose fight. Pride flickered in his eyes, first real since childhood. The vineyard's yours now.
Truly. But
there's more. More. Alarm prickled. Your mom. She knew about the call, the anonymous tip. Vicky confessed to her, weeks ago. Feared exposure when you started digging.
Mom.
The final thread. Betrayal's core, soft and insidious. Why hide?
Fear.
Of losing everything.
You.
Him. The lie. The lie that Ethan was the sun, me the shadow. It explained the $100,000 demand, not just desperation, but deflection, shielding their fractured fairy tale. I set the glass on a stump, resolve hardening. Where is she? Packing. Thinks you'll cast her out. Out. I laughed hollow. She cast herself long ago. We finished in silence, the wine warming the chill. Back home, the house loomed, porch light haloed, Mom's silhouette in the window like a moth to flame. She met me in the foyer, suitcase at her feet, face gaunt. Dahlia, don't. I held up a hand, voice steady.
The tip.
Vicky. You knew and said nothing. Tears tracked. I was protecting.
Him.
Always. The words cut, but truth freed. You let me die for that illusion.
No. So be shocked.
After your funeral, I broke. Told the priest everything. Even the other secret. The air thinned.
What?
Your birth. Whisper, shattering. Not planned.
Dad.
He wanted a boy. Pressured. I strayed too. With Javier's brother, the migrant crew lead. You're not his either. World tilted. Not blood? The golden child of fraud and me.
What?
Imposter in my own skin? Vine's legacy, built on sand. Why now? Fury rose, tangled with grief. Guilt. She knelt, clutching my jeans like a penitent. Ethan confessed the push, to me, drunk after rehab. Vicky's call was cover, but I drove the second car. Tail lights, to scare you back. Ensure the accident looked solo. For him. The raven voice, hers distorted. Didn't work alone.
Us.
Sisters in sin, mothers in malice. I backed away, door frame cold against my palm. You killed me.
No, God, no. Just.
Watched. Horror twisted her. Forgive. Out. The word expelled, final as frost. Take your lies. The vineyard stays. She rose, broken, dragging the case into night. Dad waited in the drive, arms open, no embrace, just shared sorrow. I'll go with her. Fix my mess. Fix. Echoed, empty. And us. Call when ready. Truck rumbled, taillights fading like her alibi. Alone. The house echoed, hollow, vast. I wandered to the office, ledgers mocking, numbers neat, but foundation cracked. Who was I if not Blackwood? The vines didn't care, blood or borrowed. They yielded the same. Sunday. Solitude's balm. I walked the property alone, dawn gilding the leaves, feeling the soil's pulse, mine now. Javier met me at the gate, thermos steaming.
Heard. Your ma.
Gone. Gone. Simple. But we work. Always. His grin rare. Crew's yours. Blood don't make family. Truth distilled. By noon, calls poured. Distributors biting on the 25 futures, a feature in Wine Spectator. Blackwood's bold rebirth. Marcus texted, dinner? No strings. I replied, rain check. Building first. Afternoon brought the twist's tale, PI's final report. Ethan's rehab journal, smuggled. Entry scrawled in rage. Dahlia's lying. Came back wrong. Knows too much. Mom's fault. Push me to it. And underlined, fevered. Grandpa's journal. She has it. The real secret. Grandpa's. The heirloom, soil notes, and prohibition lore. I'd kept it hidden, pages yellowed with family trees. Wait. Trees? I'd skimmed, but now. Racing to the apartment, I yanked the floorboard, journal tumbling. Flipping frantic. Not just yields, birth records, smudged ink. Dad's grandpa, the bootlegger, affair with a Blackwood cousin, illegitimate line. But deeper. Ethan's true father? Not Vicky's beau. Dad's brother, presumed dead in World War II. Cover up, inheritance ploy. And me?
Nostraing.
Pure Blackwood, the true heir, hidden to protect the golden facade. Mom's lie doubled. To bind us in guilt, keep the cycle spinning. Tears blurred, but laughter followed, cathartic, cleansing. I was the root, deep and true. Monday, rebirth. I burned the journal's secrets in the fire pit, ashes scattering on the wind. Crew gathered for announcements, full shares, bonuses from the loan. Cheers rose, real as rain. Ethan wrote from lockup. Sorry. Monster made. Forgiven? Not yet. But possible. Dad called weekly, progress, not please. Mom? Silence, healing space. Winter came gentle, vines dormant but dreaming. Spring's bud break mirrored mine. Green shoots, fierce. The 25 vintage? Legend, bold, controversial, a Blackwood twist that shook Napa. And me? Dahlia Blackwood, no longer ghost. Alive, vengeful no more. Victor, vintage uncorked. The ravine faded, replaced by Rose thriving under my hand. Family? Redefined. Javier's quiet wisdom, Crew's loyal sweat, even Marcus's tentative friendship over that eventual dinner. Business, laced with spark. In the end, the vineyard saved me, not them. And in its soil, I planted peace, tangled roots, but reaching for sun.